Hello.
So, hello everybody. Welcome to our fourth online session, I think. And we will start with a check-in, looking for how you are today for this online session. Meet real people, not only a virtual screen and types and letters and so. Maybe we can start then. First person that I see in my screen here is Martina. Martina, go ahead and then we can pass on. Short check-in.
Hi, good evening. I'm very happy to be here today because it's my first live session I could make in this dimension. So very happy to be here and see you all. At the same time, I'm very tired today because I'm coming from 2 days of shiatsu training where I am a student and also translating. So a double role I have there that makes me very tired. So I hope I will connect my brain a little bit while being here, but definitely I will enjoy your company. And also I have to say that I have not had the chance to read a lot from the fourth module yet. So I will listen to what you will share and we will see what I can contribute with. So thank you. And should I just pass it on to someone? Tim?
Hello, everyone. From the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's Friday afternoon. I want to thank our instructors for providing great feedback on the reflections. It's been really helpful. I personally, I don't know about anybody else, but when I write those reflections, it's kind of a stream of consciousness, and I don't really know what I feel like if good thoughts are going to come out of that or if it's going to actually make sense. So it's been really good to get feedback on that stuff. So thank you. The person next to me is George or Jorge.
It's better. I will be at the end because I'm the facilitator.
Oh, gotcha. So. Sorry. You're right. So I guess Andre is next.
Hi, everybody. It's Andre I'm in Geneva in Switzerland at the moment. And yes, I must agree, Tim, it's mind-opening stuff. I've had this all throughout the course, insights that broadens the mind. And I tend to want to write essays and papers based on what you find, you know, because it's such a vast and rich kind of situation at the moment that dovetails in with the course. And I see significant progress, you know, with the kind of theories that the course is presenting. But I also see, particularly in the third world countries, that things are going the other way. And it's not necessarily unsuccessful. I've found an article that actually disputes the fact that we should go on a type of cooperative government system, and actually it's almost sort of like a good dictator system. And it works for one country. So, you know, things are about to change again. So, I'll pass off to Teresa. Or Therese, is it? Therese.
Hi, everyone from Northern Germany. Compared to a very tired morning, I'm full of adrenaline right now, I feel, because I just had a Skype conversation with my boss in the US, and I'm very excited right now just by everything that's just happening right now in my life. I'm also moving again, like within this town. But yeah, a lot of ongoing stuff, and I'm very excited and passionate about the academic dimension, which I'm honestly surprised, but it's really exciting, and I discover so many new things, and I guess due to the fact that they are so new to me because I was closed before to them, this is why there's so much learning. So I'm very excited to be here. And I pass on to Hernan.
Thank you. Hi everyone, Hernan here from London. I'm very glad to be here as well. I was able to join only one of the sessions. I'm glad that they were able to record the other ones and this one as well. I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety that the course this dimension is coming to an end, and kind of an urge of, okay, what's next? So let's see. For now, I register for the next one for the worldview. I hope to see her once again, and glad to continue learning with you. So I will pass it to Paloma.
Hello. Can you hear me? I'm surprised at how much I've enjoyed the economics class, because it's so far from really my interest, and the learning in it is, I'm going to mimic what Therese said. It's been really eye-opening. So I'm enjoying this class a lot more than I thought I would. So thank you. And I will pass it to Iona.
Hello. Yeah, can everyone hear me? Yes, no, it's great to be with you all and to go through the economics dimension with all you, and economics has never been something that's my strong suit, so it's definitely been an adventure so far, and look forward to the next module. I'm from London, and yeah. I'm on my phone, so I'm not sure who's next on the list. If someone could maybe pass it on to someone else.
You can pass it either to Nadia or to Jaime.
Okay, Nadia.
Hi, I'm sorry, I don't know what the question was because I have only just logged in, but I'm Nadia. I don't know whether I need to say anything else.
It's just to check in to say how are you, and anything you want to say about yourself right now.
Well, I've had problems with my computer all week, so I haven't read the material yet, but I'm glad that I finally managed to make it to the call though. So I'm looking forward to this. Shall I pass it on to the person who hasn't talked yet?
Yes, I think Jaime is next.
All right, Jamie.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everybody. For this week, I would like to bring to us that I've been participating remotely on the climate change and consciousness meeting throughout this week. This has been very inspirational, and at certain point in time, this has been a little bit, caused a little bit more disturbing at myself due to the facing the urgence of what we have ahead of us. I believe the keynote speaker that opened the meeting is Bill Knippen, something like that.
McKibben.
Bill Knippen. And his speech was so serious, you know. I thought he was so absolutely to the point that bring us a sensation that what we have been exchanging on this module around personal changes and right livelihood and so on, this is so much important, but at the end of the day, we are facing a very urgent matter, and this won't be sufficient at the end of the day. For me, this week has been very, insightful facing this. I would like to share with you around that. Thank you. I believe Keith is the next one, yeah?
Thank you, Jamie. Well, I would like to resonate what you just said. And as I'm contemplating the material of all of the modules of this dimension, one thing that really comes up again and again is how to move the good ideas that we're encountering here out into the mainstream and how to scale them up. The thought that for example, even if an eco-village might be set up on 20 or 30 hectares of land here in Germany or somewhere else, if it's surrounded by 5,000 hectares of chemical and fossil fuel based agriculture, it's not happening fast enough. I think there's something parallel with the financial situation. As long as the alternative financial instruments remain on the side, then we might have to wait until a collapse happens before people will abandon the old system and adopt new systems. So I'm very interested in how we could move this outward and scale it up. For example, this morning I was thinking, if you take Christians and Muslims together, that is almost one third or 30% of the total global population. And if we don't find a way to reach out to those people, finding languages that can make bridges to them, then my fear is that we as alternative thinkers and doers would remain so much on the margin. You know, we've got the anniversary of Earth Day coming up, and I was a participant in the first Earth Day. And during the 1970s, it looked like this was already going to be a new vision. Then during the 1980s, it was rather pushed to the margins as a new neoliberal financial model took the center stage. And I wouldn't want to see that happen again. So I don't know if there's someone next to pass it on to. You can point me in the right direction. Anyone not spoken yet?
I believe Iona hasn't spoken yet. Am I right?
So I pass it on to the next person.
I have spoken.
Oh, you have? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I believe that now it's about you, Naresh.
Oh, okay. I've been enjoying a very lovely day doing some work on deep adaptation and collapse, exploring some of that topic, and then having some day in the vegetable garden and taking apart a motor and things like that. So I've had a kind of head, heart, and hands day, I guess. This is more of probably a head and maybe heart, hopefully, bit of session. So looking forward to that. Thank you. Gio, do you want to say anything?
Well, yeah, sure. Of course, I want to say hello to everybody, but I also wanted to, oh, that's a very nice picture. I also wanted to resonate with what I heard, and I'm so appreciative to hear the comments that you all are making about the course, both those that are enjoying it, discovering new things, and being inspired by what the course is offering, and also the shortcomings where we know this is not enough. We know any one thing is not enough. We know economy is not enough, as ecology and as social issues are not enough. But I'm glad that this is being expressed and discussed in this forum. Very wonderful. I also want to share that tomorrow, by the way, I'm in the Northeast United States, and right now it's pouring outside. It's amazing to see all the trees popping out and the rain coming down so hard. But I'm excited because tomorrow and Sunday I'm going to be participating in one of these right livelihood and social enterprises. I'm part of the local conservation NGO, and tomorrow we're doing a plant sale to raise funds for this NGO. So we'll be selling all kinds of vegetable plants, trees, brushes, flowers, and usually we raise about $10,000 on a weekend for the conservation organization. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm glad to let you know that I'm trying to apply all these things that we are teaching in as small a way as I can, or as big when I can. So that's me. Thank you, and I'll pass it back to George.
Thanks, Joe. I'm already with the draft. I don't know, it's a panel from Andrea, how to take out from my screen.
Is my graphic covering everything there now?
Yeah, you're sharing your screen.
Oh, okay, I've also got problems getting back into. I'm going to just log out and come back in, okay.
So, meanwhile, I want to share that, first of all, I want to apologize for my absence last online session. I was in a retreat in Brazil, in Rio. It was really intense. And now, then let's go ahead with our, yeah, thanks. Our meeting. So, as all of you, I'm a multitasking person. I'm not doing just Gaia education online. So we have so many things to do. But this is an aspect of a transition time, and we must do with that. And then, first of all, thanks for realizing the importance of our feedbacks. It's just a trying to share with you our vision and our approach to this course and this knowledge and these experiences. Today, we will talk about, first of all, I will look for the next module. We will engage ourselves in a new module. And the first aspect is how to turn dreams into reality. I believe that the economic dimension is, the structure is from a very wide perspective to a very narrow or focused perspective. And this module 5 will deal with financial and legal issues. Then I want to highlight some points. First of all, we will look for social enterprises. And this is very important because in some way we are dealing with enterprise all the time. And then we must deal with this very, very sometimes arid aspects of enterprise. Also, we will deal with financing, how to get money, and what is the importance of choose the right source of money. What is the advantage, the bad and good sides of each one of these sources of financing. Also, we have a look about cooperatives and how important it is to learn with this kind of enterprise in some way. What is the main characteristics of these cooperatives and what these people are doing worldwide in benefit of the planet. And also we look for the new ways of doing business, like commoning, open source, and finally about earth rights. Nowadays we have a very important movement in many, many countries, and I believe that Costa Rica is one of the main examples about recognizing the rights of earth and his beings. In my opinion, is a way to get a new balance, getting out from this anthropocentric point of view. Because in some way, the ground of all the problems that we have is that we humans, we think that we are so important. But you know, today I saw a video from, I don't remember, one of these actors, remembering us that nature don't need humans to survive, but humans need nature to survive. So it's really crazy what we are doing to this planet. But we need tools to make possible a new way of life. So the module 5, the final step in this economic dimension is about, okay, let's do it. Let's do it in an effective way. But I heard, I think that, I don't know, maybe Kate said about alternative. I don't believe that we are in an alternative way, because we must work inside the system. So in some way, we are in a complementary way. We must at the same time, one leg in the mainstream and another leg in the new ways of life and new ways of doing business and so on and so on. And this is our time. So I believe at one point that we mustn't believe that we can do everything, but at the same time we must be stuck in thinking that we have no power to do anything. In this middle way, we must find our path to live regenerative life and generate a regenerative culture. And obviously, as you already recognized, economics is a very important, maybe an essential aspect. And finally, as you said right before, this is just a didactic division. So economics, ecology, social, and worldview is just aspects of the same truth. Then let's share. I don't know, Naresh, now if you are ready, now you can do a little review of the last module, and then we can pass the word through our circle, sharing our visions, our questions, suggestions, and yeah, in a very open way.
Okay, thank you, George. Before I recap module 4, seeing as we're touching on Earth jurisprudence and giving rights to nature, I just want to take a moment to honor a dear friend who died last week. Her name is Polly Higgins. She wrote a book called Eradicating Ecocide, and she's been a tireless campaigner at the European Court of Human Rights to get ecocide put up alongside crimes like genocide as crimes against humanity. And she was only 50 years old, and it's very sad that she's gone, because she was an incredible woman. So this week we're talking about local economies, revitalizing them, and also social innovation. So here in my hand, I have a fistful of Totnes pounds. One of the tools that many communities use to stimulate local economics. You'll notice that the note on the top here is a £21 note. It's somewhat quirky, I guess you'd call it. There's a reason for that, but I don't think I'll go into it unless you're particularly interested. The module starts with the theory, which is about plugging the leaks, that when we spend money in local economies, that money just leaves the local economy almost immediately. And people have started to put their minds to, well, how can we get more of the money that we spend in our local economy, circulating around our local economy, stimulating local economics, local economic actors, businesses, enterprises, and so on, and how can we get that to stick more rather than become just extracted from the local economy? Because the way national currencies and the way the world economic system works, it's effectively extraction machine. It extracts value from everywhere and it concentrates it to the richest and most powerful corporations and people on earth. So the question is then, how do we keep some of that value that we create? How do we keep it more for ourselves, and how do we then use that to stimulate economic activity? we need, one of the first things that feels like an important thing to do is to map the productive potential of our regions. What are the incomings, outgoings, both in terms of financial, but also in terms of resources, people, material waste, and all those sorts of things, because those are the things that start to give you some of the keys to what sort of things or what sort of enterprises would be useful in order to maintain those resources and that value in the local economy. Some of the projects that have aimed to revitalize local economies is the first one that was mentioned is the Re-Economy Project, which started here in Totnes. A friend of mine, Fiona Ward, she set up working groups to start mapping some of the incomings and outgoings, started looking at what was the spend. So particularly with say food, how much food did people in Totnes and the environment spend? It was something like £20 million a year. And the thought of that group was, well, what if we could say keep 10% of that value within our local economy? What if we could say provide 10%? So that's £2 million worth of local food. What would that look like? How do we go about it? So that was sort of how the project was born. It went on to publish the local economic blueprint. So just to get a sense of where the value lies and where's the low hanging fruit, where's the opportunities. For local economic development. Some of the other frameworks for local economic development is the Business Alliance for Local Living Economies, the International Alliance for Localization, the Solidarity Economy, Shared Prosperity Economy, so those are some of the main ones. And then the module goes on to look at how we can support social innovators and entrepreneurs, and notices that there are many platforms and courses for doing that. And then it goes on to look at the opportunities. How do we identify some of the opportunities for social entrepreneurs? What are the prototypes? What patterns of social entrepreneurship reoccur again and again? And how have eco-villages supported themselves, for instance? And finally, it took a look at something called regenerative enterprise. So this idea of how can we optimize the different capitals that that we can identify as being important. So most enterprises just look at money, but the other forms of capital are skills and labor. It's also social capital. There's also ecological capital and so on. So it looks at what are the various capitals, what are the forms of currencies, and how we can maximize them. So that's a brief run through of what this module is about. So I'll hand back to George.
Thanks, Naresh. So we have an overview about Module 5. Naresh did a review about Module 4. And then we have time for sharing. And we can follow the same way from before. Martina, if you are ready, you can talk about your experience, or you can pass the word to.
Yeah, as I said, I have not had the chance to read the contents of Module 4 yet, but just sitting here and listening to you, something that I also shared in my reflection, the last reflection, comes to my mind again, very personal thought that I feel some kind of much more resistance in getting involved in my local projects here where I live. And instead, I'm looking a lot more out into the world to, now in my case, Senegal, and some projects also in Germany that I'm intrigued with, and feel that somehow I get in a conflict, because we are saying here that it's very important to look at the possibilities and resources in our local environment. And I feel that my heart just wants to go out in the world and not stay here in my local environment. So my question is a little bit how can we get this balance? I also have this week I have booked 3 flights for this year, and feel bad about it because we also know that from a point of view of sustainability, flying is the worst thing we can do. So I'm struggling a little bit with these different things that we should do or should not do in order to be good rescuers of this world, and I feel a little bit overwhelmed right now. So I will just leave that in the room, and I'm very happy to hear about what others want to share about this. And I can, should we follow the same order as before, or should I just, because then it was Tim next, was after me speaking before.
Hi. So just so I'm clear, we're just giving reflections here on our modules and how they apply to our lives. Is on this module? Is that the kind of what we're planning to do?
As you want, if you want to share your questions, suggestions, this is an open forum.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't think I have anything, specifically burning on this module. I enjoyed it a great deal, and my reflection was on the theory of change that the BALE uses, the Local Living Economies Group. Personally, I've kind of, as the owner of a certified B Corp, that's been kind of where I've decided to place my efforts, and that has allowed me to act locally as well as think globally, as they say. I co-host a local group in Chicago, Illinois, of other B Corps. There's about 30 or so B Corps in the Chicagoland area. And so we get together on a regular basis and talk about how we can expand the breadth of certified B Corps and other businesses who want to use business as a force for good, or other companies that want to do that. But then, of course, as B Corps, we're part of a more global movement as well. And so we connect with other what they call B Local groups. So I run B Local Illinois, but there's all sorts of other B Local groups all around the United States and increasingly throughout other countries as well. And so that I'm allowed, these efforts allow me to work directly with businesses within my own geographical region, while also being able to connect in meaningful ways with other geographical regions who are working on similar things. And this allows us to kind of share what we've learned, and what maybe worked in the Washington, D.C. area doesn't work in Chicago or San Francisco for whatever reason. And so I found that process to be very meaningful, and it seemed to me to be quite relevant to what this module was all about.
So Tim, I'm curious to know, is that the B Local, is that a program of the BALE network?
No, it's a program of B Lab, the nonprofit that certifies B Corps.
Oh, B Lab, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if people, sorry, let me put my video back on. But I don't know if people are familiar with the different networks for businesses to organize, as you are explaining, Tim. There is the B Corporation, is that what?
Yep, B Corporation.
B Lab puts together B corporations, but also the BALE network, and I think that it has expanded internationally as well.
It has, yeah.
Work for local economies and localizing enterprises and things like that. Good information to share among those who are involved in businesses.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. In that there are ways, like last week or on the last module's call, someone was talking about something specific to Rio, and their Sistema Bay is the local B Lab office there, and so it's great to be able to connect people up with other organizations within around the world who can make local change happen, while also connecting, worldwide.
It's wonderful to hear it. Yeah.
And if you allow me, Jean, one very important point of System B, of B Corporation, is that from little corporations. Now we have big corporations
Right.
worldwide. And my feeling is that like the first initiative that is spreading out with ethical values, like Global Alliance for Banking on Values. So it's something strange, but in a good sense. And I love your example that you gave in your reflection from big companies coming together. So
Yeah, in Illinois alone, where Chicago is, we have 1-person B Corps, and then we have KIHI, which is a natural foods distributor, which is a $5 billion a year B Corp. They're the second largest B Corp in North America. So we have this wide range, and then we have Patagonia offices and Method offices, and there's other companies that people would be familiar with. So we're able to bring that kind of brand identity with us as a community, which is really helpful when you're trying to expand the idea out to a much larger community.
thanks, Ian. Maybe some moment you can put a little report in our forum about this.
I will. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks. Yeah, you can pass.
Andre, you're next on my list.
Andrea, you are in mute.
There you go. This module has been a sort of a tipping course for me. I have now almost completed the course, and I've read and done a lot of things here in Europe. We'll be moving back to my home country, South Africa, in October. My first objective is to actually bring up the forum that I've been talking about, the VPN, the virtual private network. It's like a Facebook for all of you, for Gaia education in particular, so that we don't lose touch and that we can sort of have a common area which is sort of closed off from the rest of the internet, where people can discuss, have these kind of conversations, post things, resources, advertise, a whole lot of things that can happen on there. That will be my first objective. And then the second one is to really get companies involved in these sort of activities, because they have the infrastructure, they have the money, they have people that really want to do this kind of thing. I've seen here in Europe, I've spoken to a lot of corporate people that really are into this stuff, but they're a little bit lost. So I want to aim more in that direction, because I feel like you saw that thing I flashed up, for example, that is Disney. You know, and if a corporation like that goes from the top down and they start, yes, there'll always be a motive in it for them, but if we can, I feel if we can get a motive out there for another purpose very strongly, that'll push that issue that Tim raised. You know, or somebody raised that it's very small pockets at the moment, and I would like to see that being accelerated. I'm also going to contact the local politicians in the area. In Cape Town, it is the more sensible party that is ruling at the moment. So I would like to sort of go and have a look at what they feel, how they are going to handle Cape Town now in the future. We'll see with the election what happens. And I'm also setting eyes on Mauritius, because Mauritius is a very peaceful country. It is an African country. It's less than 2 million people. They're very active in terms of economy, and they're very peaceful. And I feel that there one can build a huge model for Africa to export to other countries in terms of what governments and companies can achieve in sustainability and all those kind of aspects. So that's sort of where my head is going.
Who comes next? Therese, go ahead.
Okay, as I was just reading the thread, okay, maybe not everything, no. Naresh and Martina. Tim, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I haven't really captured a lot what you were saying, because I was still processing what Martina said. So to be honest, passing on, it was far too big for me to process, and I actually wanted to, what you said, Martina, resonated with me. And yeah, basically my heart is beating still, because I felt like you expressed how overwhelmed you are with certain things, and we haven't given space for that to elaborate on that, but that's maybe the format we chose for today. But I just feel it does something with my body that you basically open up that way. And yeah, I would, yeah. I don't really know how to probably formulate that.
Please feel free to go into that if you want to. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm just, I just want to say sorry to Tim that I missed part of the conversation because I was like, I got stuck there.
It's okay, no worries.
I will have the chance to look at it again. Yeah, again, Martina, I can very much resonate with that as well. And one comment I made very much at the beginning when Keith was talking about this scaling up, like I feel very often we put on ourselves the pressure, like we need to change, like right at the top beginning, that like a mountain, I'm not reaching a mountain, like I have to make a first step and this starts where I am. And I mean, I'm not in Lüneburg, I'm not from Lüneburg, but right now I'm local here. And I wrote this scaling out versus scaling up because I think I followed one of the links, which was using this term, this scaling out, that it's actually not that we have to scale up, but basically what we do, and this is part of this week, this local movement, relocalize, that we basically start where we are, and it's the point that what we are doing where we are is happening where Martina is or where Naresh is, and not that I have to do Naresh's job till wherever you are living, for example. But if everybody starts local, this will kind of spread out as well. And then following these links, that then there are these networks, and then you kind of unite this all, and all of a sudden you have the top and the bottom kind of kissing each other in the middle. But yeah, I think I stopped talking here. And I don't pass it on because I feel whoever would like to say something should indicate. I don't want to spotlight anybody. Okay, to Paloma, I think was first.
I'd like to respond to Teres and Martina, their concerns about, well, Martina especially, about the amount of plane travel and stuff that's she's going to be going through. You know, I think for us in the period of time we're in, we need to do as much as possible as we can. And that's going to require us to use a lot of plane fuel. But we can't focus on that. We really need to focus on what we're going to do. Because if you look at somebody like Jane Goodall, who has done a tremendous amount of work for our planet, but she's traveled a lot on planes. But I don't think anybody's paying attention to that. That you look at how much good she has done, and that's going to carry forward. So right now, that's what we need to focus on, is what good we can do. And on an individual level, yes, we're using too much fuel, but that's going to carry on to generations. The work we do now is going to carry on to generations. And I think that's what we need to focus on, rather than the damage that we're doing on a small scale, supposedly. So that's what I wanted to share. I'm done. I'll pass it on to Jamie.
Well, okay. I believe Keith wants to speak. I can't wait.
Go ahead, Jamie. I'll come after you.
Okay. No, listening to you and from the material that we have for this week, this module, I liked very much on the contents related to eco-village economics, let's say. As I've already shared with you, I'm pursuing engaging myself on the building of an eco-village in the south of Santa Catarina, south of Brazil. So in the next months, I believe that for the next years, I will be engaged on that. It has just, we have just begin with that. And sometimes hearing you and thinking on myself and all the issues we are exchanging, I started to think that I'm so much personal at this point in time, because I'm doing a transition in my life, very hard. I'm pushing myself to be in contact with new contents, with new subjects, and studying and pushing and so on. But it's so, I am so in the personal, you know, in the personal change at this point in time. And there is so much social needs and transformation and things to be done, especially if you live in Rio de Janeiro, in a country like I live. So I get stuck and a little bit trapped on this many times. But I'm moving ahead. I'm trying to keep in contact with intuitions and my inner self on this, and hearing voices, hearing friends, hearing you that we have been exchanging so much information. But again, the material around eco-village economy take my attention. I will be involved in that for the next months, I believe, hopefully. And that's what I would like to share with you. Keith.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. I think the first thing I would like to do is to thank Jorge and Naresh and all the teachers that we've had, and to recognize that what we get from the Gaia education is a kind of entry-level course that is very broad and they bring in so many resources, different levels from global to local in each one of these dimensions. And it made me think, and I posted this on the forum a couple of days ago, but didn't have a chance to follow up on it, that something that Gaia education can't do, but which is what we're all talking about here. I wanted to just sort of crystallize that, and that is that every new project needs many different kinds of resources. And as I posted up on the forum, I think there is a new kind of social and ecological entrepreneurship that is needed. And Tim is doing an aspect of this. And what I'm talking about is that all of us inhabit a region, and all of us are parts of different kinds of networks. I think that the one important stage that will be involved in bridging the local and the regional is to create directories of different kinds of resources. I live in Berlin, and before that I lived in Munich, and I happen to know where is the one main store in each city where you can buy non-toxic, sustainable building materials. But if I was moving into one of these cities from France or from some other place, I would have to be hunting around for this. I know where these stores are because I happen to pass them on the street. And any project that would get going, say if I was this isn't my business, but if I was a contractor, I need to know where can I access, you could say, sustainable water electricity, sustainable building materials, the local financing networks. And this is something that I think, I'm sure it will grow, but we're here and we have this knowledge and we may help it grow. You know, if I would go to Paris tomorrow, I could get a directory of all of the 5-star restaurants, just like that. And what we need is what we could do as next steps, whether we personally are the ones to do it or whether we can help other people to do it, is to create directories of, say, start with the 4 dimensions of the Gaia training, to create local directories of the appropriate resources in each of those 4 dimensions, and then to publish them online and link them to other networks in a system. The B Corporations is one of these kinds of networks that has scaled out and also has reached many, many more people. And I think that this is something that we could do, because wherever we are, when we want to start a project, even when we want to do the design lab in the summer, we're going to need many different kinds of resources that we will use. And if we can find a platform, I don't know if Andre's platform would be the one, but if we can find a platform where we can just start sharing all of those and create regional banks of multi-dimensional resources, that'll be a great help for all of the people who might come after us. That's what I wanted to share.
Keith, that reminds me of a project that I saw here in New York City a few years back, and actually it's all over the United States and probably all over the planet, which is mapping in cities, mapping those resources as you're mentioning, finding where they are, put a pin on a map and making it, digitalize it. That's already going on, and I'm sorry I don't have a reference to give you right now, but I'm sure that mapping resources or something like that would probably bring it up. That's a very good idea. And I think Andre had his hand up. I don't know.
Yes, Keith, that is exactly what this site can do and more. It's a very rich site in terms of giving people their own spaces, communities their own spaces, and you can build it in any direction you want, even privatize it for a particular community person, share resources and all that sort of thing. But that is where the members are coming. Your needs will be heard, and I basically build it or contact the company who has the system and we add it. It's ning.com, ning.com, and I've been using them to build community sites for companies and individuals for over 10 years, maybe 15 years or so.
So maybe your platform will be a kind of network of networks.
Yes, it can be a network for, my first object is network for this course, because I think it needs to be spread. It does open your mind a lot. I hear that people are overwhelmed. Well, that is exactly, I think, what the course does to you. And that's the success of the course. You get overwhelmed because suddenly your mind opens. And I have sort of struggled with that principle at the beginning of the course, but I'm just taking it day by day. And as it changes me, I then react. I also got to the point, I think, with Martina, where you mentioned, should I fly or walk, kind of thing. But, we have a transition phase, and that can take quite a while. And so one can make up for your flying by doing something else. When I fly, I walk a lot here in Geneva. Or I take the public transport and things like that. But yes, Keith, we can do that.
Yeah, just remember that we must give time to Iona and Nadia. I'm looking for the time. Sorry.
Hi, so I'll go ahead. I also wanted to comment back on what Juliet Paloma said. Sorry, I don't know which one is your name, Juliet or Paloma. Anyway, yeah, about flying, I was actually having this conversation with someone not long ago, and they were explaining to me that because they earn very well their living, they're on a quite high salary, they think they deserve the right to enjoy it. So they don't really want to be told not to go on holidays. So I was trying to explain, fair enough. I mean, I can't tell them don't go on holidays or change your life altogether, but I was trying to find a compromise, and it's exactly what you just said, Andre. I think let's take the example of flying by plane. I mean, we all know it's not right, but if it's for a good cause, for example, or if you're compensating. So I was trying to say this person actually goes on holidays for playing tennis in the Caribbean, which is outrageous. But anyway, I was saying if this is the right you think you have, then the very least is, and if you don't want to stay in a hotel that helps the local economy, the very least is at least, you know, give back to the locals, help replanting around to compensate for the tennis court, or give some money, or buy some souvenirs, but directly to the local people, not in the big hotels or something. Whatever the solution is, I think if you think beyond why you're traveling, why you're doing something wrong, and as long as it doesn't stop there, I wouldn't really beat yourself. What I found for me is the most important step is to stop being part of the system, not necessarily to achieve doing great things. So I don't at least have any regret. So if I just look back at not my life straight away, but at least in the next few years, if I look back at this current years, at least I won't feel like I was part of anything negative. I didn't engage in sponsoring wrong behavior or wrong activities. Even if I don't achieve anything great, I don't create a charity, I don't go and volunteer to plant trees or all the great things many people manage to do. So that's my view. The other thing I wanted to say is we're talking about networking between people who want to do more or people who want to change their lives. And for me, I feel it's going to be a while because I'm still very new in this transition. For me, I feel it's going to be a while before I can implement more constructive project, or I can even advise as a consultant people in their projects. So for now, what I'm focusing is on trying to influence people on a daily life, just normal conversation with normal people. And I find this is a struggle. And I think we always should bear in mind what people who have no interest or no concern about sustainability or changing their lives altogether, or who have very little knowledge, but they might have the misunderstanding of it. So it's also important for us to know how to communicate with them at their own level. And I'm struggling with this at the moment. So that's all I wanted to say. And I'll pass it on. Apparently, Iona is the only one left.
Hi. I'll try and make it short, as I know we're now going over time. Yeah, I'm trying to think where to start. I'm very much someone that can easily live probably in the middle of the forest and stay there for the rest of my life. And the thing is that I definitely feel that I'm meant to be in society to help with what's going on at the moment. And when, since I was young, I've always been wanting to try and, like, you know, help nature, help people to show, I think it's always the common denominator has been to try and show possibilities, trying to show people what is possible in this world and not feel like they have limitations to what's shown very distinctively around them. And with the things that I'm trying to do is very much obviously all centered around that, to give platform, to try and create platforms or to create physical, like eco villages, for sure, that will again show the possibilities of how we can be, how we can live, and that we can be thriving and live healthy, happy, fulfilling lives. And so much of also like what I do research on is like I've been through lots of institutions and, you know, have pulled out of some because just because of the way in which how we are limited in education is so much, you know, from the youngest years, from 2 till you know, university, and how much that dictates what how obviously children grow up to think and be, not even counting the environments and their parents and you know, the people that they are introduced to at a young age. But we are constantly conditioned at such a young age to think in a very specific way. And this is why I feel like education is one of the most important things that needs to be tackled, because all we're doing is like producing these children, like, and it sounds horrible, on a treadmill, all these children that are being taught to not be creative, not to think for themselves, and to be, you know, to just really think very inside a very specific box. And for me, being put in a box at a young age because I was dyslexic was kind of strange for me, because I was like still so interested in academic subjects and whatever, even though I couldn't find it very difficult to learn in that environment, in any sort of schooling environment. But stroke like kind of was put off. But when I left school, encouraged myself again. Now I love all the subjects that I'm learning, which is from like, you know, very big array of subjects. And I've had to kind of like encourage myself to believe that I can do those things as well, and not feel like I'm only stuck in one area that they very much wanted to put me in. And it's more what I'm trying to say is that like the things that we're all trying to do at the moment with sustainability, with regenerative systems, and with these eco villages, it's I feel like the importance of my focus right now is that, as I said in the last video, is to try and do things not just well but quickly, because things do need to be done relatively quickly with what's going on right now. And so that's the difficulty, right? I mean, there's so many things that we have ideas for and that we can try and produce, you know, in whatever time frame. But I feel so much of it is going to be to do with how quickly these things can be put out there and influenced. And it's really difficult, very, very difficult to think of. But for sure is something that, if you are aware of, needs to be somehow, you know, contributing to all the things that you're trying to do, I feel. And because it needs to be done fast, it's not, I don't feel about trying to convince everyone in the world, or like a lot of people, to get on board with a certain movement. I think it's more that, like, yes, people need to be aware, and with the Extinction Rebellion stuff, I think it's amazing. But I think it's more that the people that are wanting to be driven, or are driven, and that want to do something different but can't see a direction for themselves, they need to be shown that actually there is a direction, there's nothing clear for them, and that's okay, but to kind of give them a platform, create a platform for them to be like, okay, this is a possibility for you, and this is a possibility for you. You don't have to go this very usual systematic route, as Nadia was saying, but, you know, system route. And then, yeah, anyways, sorry, I'm rambling. But yeah, and I just thought I wanted to express that. And yeah, there's probably a lot of other stuff that I want to express, but usually I don't find be able to express it in one time, but it's one go. But yeah, I thought I would just say that, and I can't really think of anything else to say right now. But thank you.
If I can chip in, I'll try to be quick. So coming back to what Nadia said about not just about like thinking about what we are doing, but also convincing or engaging other people that are not necessarily thinking like us. It's also a challenge for me, I feel, and also want to mention the how much this course is helping in that sense about bringing resources, information, and articulating a view in a much more of a clear way. And then about flying, I also feel similarly to Martina. I've been flying more than what I think I should, if you want. And given we're in this model and we have been talking about social enterprises, wanted to comment, I just read an article on The Guardian about this Swedish company that I think is the one that booked the tickets for Greta on her tour around Italy and Paris and then London, that is specializing in no-flight travel. So just to bring it up as an example of how all this change that is needed actually may bring a lot of opportunities, right, for business and others. So that's that.
Thanks, Hernan. Naresh have problems with internet and he must leave now. So we have already 1 hour and 10 minutes. I think that we must finish. But as facilitator, I want to give some questions, not answers. One is about like flying or every action that we do as human beings. I'm using to say that as far as you can photosynthesis, doing photosynthesis, we must consume something. In my opinion, the question is how to dignify this action, how to put meaning, how to give back for this planet the resource that we are using. Another point is time to digest the contents. This is a point, 8 weeks is just a very, very, very little first step in the rest of your life. And this is a bad news because from now on, you will be designers. And designers are also human beings. We have problems, we have questions, we have worries. This is part of life. So let's enjoy the journey. And I believe that we are going from the time, from or this or that to this and that. We must act locally, but also globally. We must open our hearts for the pains and the joys of the world, and feeling that we can do the difference. I remember that some years ago I was in an interfaith meeting, and an Anglican pastor from England said, maybe we must change our focus from critical mass to critical yes. So it's not important how big we will do, but we can do with lots of energy, changing our environment. And in my opinion, in my experience, the most powerful skill that we have as human beings is how may I be happy? Because being a happy human being, this is contagious. And people will ask you, how do you do in order to be so happy? In the last 20 years or more, I'm discovering ways of doing that. And Gaia Education is one of the most effective ways. Not only about knowledge and experience, but about working. I have friends worldwide, friends that have the same motivation to make the change as far as possible. Our life is really short, but we can do the difference. This is a paradox. So I'm really enjoying the quality of this group. It's quite difficult to give feedbacks and to be intelligent enough to go with you. But this is a pleasure, to serve you is a big pleasure. And I think that the best way to finish is to listen a little bit more Giovanni, that have decades of experience. He's not so old, but has lots of experience. And by my own, it's just a pleasure to be with you. And we are looking for the end of our dimension. And yeah, let's do it in the best way, looking for the practical questions and legal and financial issues. And please keep in touch. If you have any difficulties, any needs, we are here to serve you, myself and Naresh. Yeah. By myself is this aspects, and please you, go ahead. If you want.
Thank you, George. Thank you, everybody, for coming to this live session today. Really enjoyed the conversation and to hear your voices and see your faces and expand our network and our connections. So this will be posted in the classroom, and please engage with the forum. It'd be great to bring more people into the discussions and to really nurture that learning community that we're trying to create inside the course. See you next time, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.